Hey everybody, thank you for watching this school webinar. Today we've got Isaac Corradi here. He has 10 plus years in the IT industry. He's working at his company at the moment, TrustPoint Technology. So like I said, 10 plus years in the IT industry, helping customers across many industries. Founded TrustPoint Technology with the goal of providing to the point, honest and transparent advice, hence the name. So he specializes in helping NDIS businesses manage their technology and secure their data. And his focus is focused on efficiently gain technology adoption and cybersecurity. So yeah, I'll pass it over to you, Isaac, and you can take it.
No, thank you for the intro. It's good to be here. So I'll kick on. Cybersecurity can be a little bit of a dry topic, but it's definitely something that's a necessity these days, and a little bit scary, as we'll find out some of the statistics. So I guess to start with, what is cybersecurity? Well, it's the practice of protecting computers, networks, and data from unauthorized access, theft, or damage. So you can protect those things by using tools, policies, and procedures to keep your information safe and make sure that only authorized people are looking at it. Why is it so important? Well, a lot of these statistics I've taken from the Australian government or the Australian Signals Directorate, and they've highlighted that the majority of cyber attack reports were from small businesses. So 91.9% of businesses in Australia are classified as small businesses. They turn over less than $2 million. And here you can see the average cost of cybercrime to businesses. So the average cost for a small business is $49,000. And you can see that there's a bit of an upward trend in small businesses here. It's gone up 8% from last year. And the losses on medium and large businesses have gone down. And that is because they're now targeting small businesses. They're an easier target. There's more of them. And they're more likely to actually get access and cause a financial impact to these businesses. Some key statistics out of Australia, because there are many global statistics, but again, these are from the ASC. New South Wales is the highest reporting financial loss. So the average cost in New South Wales is $86,000, which is almost double what the average was. And out of the top 10 reporting sectors, as in the industries, healthcare and social assistance comes in third at the top of the list, just underneath federal and state government. So in terms of non-government sectors, they're the largest ones that are targeted. Ransomware and data theft, extortion, business email compromise, and fraud are the top reported cybercrimes in Australia this year. And then just a little global statistic down the bottom. The estimated global cybercrime costs are 12.3 trillion a year. That's Australian dollars, or $395 every second, which is pretty eye-watering. So the big hitters here, the top three cybercrimes that are affecting Australian businesses are email compromise, business email compromise, fraud, and online banking. So the only difference between the first two is email compromise may not necessarily have a financial impact. It just means that your emails have been compromised and maybe data's been stolen, but the business email compromise means that there's a financial loss as a result of the compromise. So what is it? Well, simply put, it's an attacker compromises a genuine mailbox or of a trusted sender, or they impersonate them to solicit sensitive information, money, or goods. So a common example, an attacker sends a modified invoice to a customer with different bank account details. The customer then pays the cyber criminal. There's lots of different types of business email compromise as well. So I'll touch on some of them. As I mentioned before, the CEO or executive impersonation. So this is just where a scammer pretends to be a high-ranking exec and they ask for payments or sensitive information. It's an easy pickings. You can generally look up who the boss is on Google and pretend to be them. Invoice fraud is where you impersonate a supplier or a vendor and send a fake invoice. Account compromise is where they take over someone's legit mailbox, so they're not pretending to be you. They technically take your account and send fraudulent messages. Payroll redirect, this is where a scammer will impersonate an employee and change the bank account details for their salary. I've actually seen this happen to a CEO of a company, and he didn't realize he wasn't getting paid for 3 months. Now, I don't know about you, but I think he might be getting paid a bit too much. I'd definitely know if I wasn't getting paid for 3 months. Data theft, this is where they might impersonate HR or other internal staff members to steal sensitive information. So you might have seen one of these sorts of pictures on Facebook or in a book, or, you got to spot the differences between the two. So I guess if you think about this, when you're looking at emails, you got to spot things that look a little bit suspicious or things that are different from normal. So here's an example. We've got an email here from the Australian Tax Office. So the display name looks legit, I guess, but we can see here that the email address is gmail.com. Okay, so it's not a .gov.au domain, it's someone impersonating that. The body of the email isn't personalized at all. So it's generic, so it can be sent in bulk. So it doesn't say, hello Mary, this is this is the refund you're going to get. It's just generic. And we can also say there's a zip file attached. So instead of them saying log into your MyGov portal and check the latest update, which would be what a legitimate one says, they've attached a zip file, which I certainly wouldn't be opening. Here's another one. So this person is pretending to be from Microsoft Online, and it looks kind of legit. I mean, it's not a Gmail domain, but you can see that they've left letters out, so it's misspelt. It's not the genuine Microsoft domain. We can also see that they're prompting you to log into an online URL. If we were to hover over that, you would probably see that that's taking you somewhere other than office.com. And another thing that I thought I'd throw in here is that these two letters are both a lowercase a, but they actually are different characters. And so there was a scam a little while ago where someone registered Amazon.com using this type of A instead. So the domain wasn't taken. They were able to re-register it with a slightly different character. Or you might also think of the other characters that have little accents on them. That can trick people as well. So something to watch out for. Some other telltale signs is the tone and the language of the email. If they're pressuring you, you need to act now, you need to do it, it's urgent, everything's urgent, that's a little bit of a red flag. Are your colleagues really hammering you that hard to get things done that quickly? I mean, they might. They're probably going to ask you to pay in unusual ways. Common ones, Apple gift cards. Duck down to the shops and buy 5 Apple gift cards. It's pretty uncommon. They might be asking you to update the bank account details. That's common. That can be legitimate. Or it's come from someone you haven't met. They need your help, or they need money. So here's some tips that you can follow to avoid these business email compromise scams. So step 1 is just verifying the requests, especially if it's an account detail update. You need to confirm the request via phone or in person. And when you do call them, make sure that you call the number you've already got saved, or you Google their business. Don't call the number in the email, because they can easily just change that as well. Make sure you've got multi-factor authentication on all of your email accounts. So if you don't know what that is, that's basically when you log into your account, it sends a code to your phone or a notification to your phone that you approve to allow the sign-in. You're going to hear me go on about MFA a lot, because it's a good protection that you should have on everything. Train your employees with regular phishing tests and security awareness training. So basically this training is just similar to what I'm going through now, but helps you identify things that are unusual. And it's also worth considering setting up payment controls. So set up multiple approvals for significant or unusual payments, kind of like the 2 keys for the nuclear bomb sort of approach. Using security tools, make sure you've got email or spam filters in place. Keep your software up to date. Use DNS or web filtering tools. So what these do, they basically, if there's a dodgy link in an email and the domain was only created a week ago, it's going to automatically block those because it's probably not legit. And if you're in doubt, just delete it or forward it to your IT for verification. If it's that important, you're probably going to get a reminder. All right, that's enough about emails for a minute. So what about individuals? It's not all about small businesses that are getting attacked. What are some of the things that are happening to individuals? So according to the ASD, the top 3 reported cybercrime types are identity fraud, online shopping fraud, and online banking fraud. You probably all know someone that this has happened to, because 1 in 4 Australians have fallen victim to identity theft at some point. And it's an expensive thing to happen. And if it ever has happened to you, you know how hard it is to go and change all your bank account details, get new cards, order a new license, passport, all that. It really sucks. So what can you do? What are some steps to avoid the identity fraud? Turn on MFA on everything that supports it. Like I said, I love it. You should use it everywhere. Use a strong password and don't reuse them for everything. So that's a killer. Everyone uses the same password for everything, and me included. I did that for a long time. It's worth consider using a password manager. So that's something that'll randomly generate passwords. It'll pre-fill them for you for all the different websites. You don't have to remember them. Because if you think about it, if you sign up for one website and they get compromised and you use that password everywhere, they're just going to try and log in everywhere with those details. Limit the amount of personal information that you share on social media. So try not to have your age, where you live, or your kids, your pets' names. That stuff can be used against you. And just have a think before you share. So when you're entering sensitive information, credit card details, things like that, make sure the website's legit. Online shopping fraud. So when you are shopping, just make sure that you check the reviews from other customers, read the fine print about warranty and refunds and how they handle complaints. And if it's an Australian website, check if it has an ABN. Generally, if it's a dodgy website, they're not going to have any good reviews. They're not going to have any way to lodge a complaint. Some of the warning signs are if it's got a poor design or looks unprofessional, or the price is so low, it's probably too good to be true. Again, if they got no contact information, no phone number, no email, and also make sure the website's encrypted. So it's HTTPS and it's got the little padlock icon. You can generally view this in every web browser. Again, some tips. Use MFA on everything that supports it. I've even heard of people having their Coles online account compromised, and people will go in there and buy all their groceries and get them delivered somewhere. It's just not worth happening. If you are going to perform transactions or online shopping, try and avoid using public Wi-Fi, so things in hospitals, libraries, cafes. They're not secure. Try using secure payment methods like PayPal or BPay. They've got their own dispute resolution. So if you transfer money like EFT straight to someone, you're probably not going to get it back. If you are using PayPal, make sure you use goods and services payment, not the friends and family. That's like a donation. PayPal will not help you get that money back. And don't send bank account details via email or SMS if you can help it. So with online banking, it's another very common thing for people to get tricked by a fake website, or they might get a phone call of someone trying to get personal information. So this is from an Australian government website as well. So banks will never contact you to ask for your account or personal details randomly. They're not going to call people and ask you to transfer funds over the phone. They're not going to ask for your passcodes or passwords. They're never going to ask for remote access to your computer. And they're not going to say, you need to take action now, you need to transfer this, or, you know, if your account's been detected with fraudulent activity, they're just going to freeze your account and you have to call the bank to remediate it. They're not going to blow up your phone. Some other tips is you shouldn't provide banking information, passwords, or 2FA codes over the phone or text. Don't ever log into online banking via links that are sent through an email or a text message. Just make sure you go through their proper website or through your bookmark. Quite obvious, don't transfer money unless you're certain it's going to the right person. And don't provide personal information unless you know it's for a legitimate purpose. Is there any questions about any of those things before I move on to the next topic? You can raise your hand in the meeting. So I thought I'd touch on some NDIS specific cybersecurity requirements. There are heaps more than this, and that's why I've put this link here. So I can put that in the chat, or feel free to take a screenshot if you want to have a further look. But some of the key ones I thought I'd touch on. When they talk about the handling of identifiable or re-identifiable NDIA data, it's personal information that's specific to that person. So that might be like, you know, their Medicare number, their full address, their name. There's a whole list of things that fit that criteria. There's another link for that, which I'll provide as well if you want to read that. So any of that sensitive data, they want to make sure that it's encrypted at rest and in transit, and I'll explain what that is in a moment. It needs to be restricted to staff who need it only. So it's a need to know. Only the people that should have access to it can view it, not anyone. And all of the data must be stored within Australia. It's not to be stored or accessed from offshore, and that also applies to all your backups, which a lot of backups, if you don't check, they actually might, the backup location might be in the US, or it could be anywhere. So to quickly explain what data encryption does. Data encryption at rest is, you think of all your data, so your files, your photos, your emails, like treasure in a vault. Encryption locks it up with a secret code or a key when it's saved on your computer, server, or storage device. So even if someone breaks into the vault and steals your hard drive out of your computer, they can't read that data unless they have the key to decrypt it. It's actually a very easy thing to roll out to all of your computers. Data encryption in transit is, it's like when you send a letter through the mail. So the encryption wraps up your letter in a secure envelope. No one can read it while it's being delivered, and only the person on the receiving end can open it and read what's inside. So as it says here, it protects your data from thieves, whether it's being stored or shared, and it keeps it safe from prying eyes. So that's how the encryption piece works. So as far as need to know access, in the IT world, we call this least privilege access. It's a principle, and we try to use it on all files and folders. But you're basically just giving someone just the amount of access they need to do their job and nothing more. So if you're a support worker, you shouldn't be able to go through the HR files, for example. I mean, it seems obvious, but a lot of people don't think about it when it's set up and may not realize how much they can see. And that access has to be logged and audited, and also the logs need to be kept in Australia. That sounds difficult, but there are tools that do that as well. And yeah, here we're talking about the data location. So the platforms that you use and store this information in should be hosted in Australia. For example, Astalty, it's hosted in Australia. You know, that's where the data is.
Yep.
Office 365 data location. So that might be OneDrive, SharePoint, your emails. You should check to see if it's in Australia. It's easy to check, and it probably is. Like by default, if you set up the tenancy in Australia, that's where it is. But if you are a company that has locations in other countries, it can be different. And if you're using offsite backups, make sure that they're based in Australia too. Like Office 365 backups, for example, the product I use, everything's in Sydney. I know that it's in Australia. And just a side note here, so a lot of people like using like AI tools like ChatGPT to help them write things, help them do work. I use it personally, but you need to be careful not to enter sensitive personal information in there because it's a language model. It's learning all the time, and it can do whatever it wants with that information. So, yeah, like I said before, if you want to understand all of the things that fit within that criteria, there's a link there from the NDIS which explains all of the information that should be kept private.
And we can put all those links in the uploaded recording to school as well. Yeah, good. That's a good idea. Hopefully none of you have seen this before, which is if it's called ransomware. So your files on your computer get encrypted or locked, and you effectively have to pay a ransom to get those files back. Now, this is a pretty old screenshot because it says send $300 worth of Bitcoin. Well, it's a lot more expensive than that now. I think the last one that I saw wanted 3 Bitcoin, and at the current market rate, I think Bitcoin's 140 grand a pop right now. So pretty hefty. Jeez.
Yeah, I guess to elaborate on that, it's effectively a virus or malware. It locks your computer, it locks your files, and it demands, or it encrypts them, like we spoke about before, but you don't get given the key to decrypt it until you pay the money. A lot of these attacks are actually performed by state actors. So these might be full legitimate, in brackets, companies in Russia. They've got a CEO, they've got an HR department. Their job is to hack other businesses and lock their data and get money out of them. So while they're standing around having a coffee, they're talking about who they hacked that morning. So it does highlight the importance of having antivirus, and really you need working backups, because worst case, antivirus is best effort. It's going to do what it can to stop these things, but it doesn't always work. So you need to have a backup that's working somewhere else, so you're not paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to get your files back. You can just restore. Okay, so the Essential 8, you may or may not have heard of this, but this is a security framework that's been developed by the Australian government, and they've implemented 8 controls that you can put in your business that greatly reduce the chances of getting a cyber attack. So I'll quickly touch on these. So application control is basically a list that says you can or you cannot install these applications on every computer. Okay, so you're allowed to have Microsoft Office, but you're not allowed to have games or whatever else you're trying to install. Patch your application, so it just making sure that everything's up to date. So Adobe, Office, Chrome, you've got the latest version installed to be free of vulnerabilities. Microsoft Office macros, these are just some tightening controls to say what Office can and can't do with macros. Application hardening. So this is sort of setting some rules around what applications are allowed to do. They should only really be allowed to do their job. So Outlook can send emails, it can open links, it can do those things. An Office document, like a Word document, is for typing Word documents. It shouldn't be editing the registry or running commands or doing weird stuff on your computer. So you can restrict what it's allowed to do. Restricting admin privileges. So most people have administrative rights over their computer to install whatever they want. It's best practice to not have that. You should only have a non-privileged account, and you can leverage this when you need it to install things. Patching your operating system. So this is just like Windows updates, making sure that Windows is up to date. You've got the latest version installed to patch any vulnerabilities. Multi-factor authentication. I think I've said that maybe 8 times now already. again, they recommend any internet-facing account that supports it have MFA. So it really is the best protection. A password isn't good enough anymore. You need to have another factor to prove you are who you are. And the last one here is regular backups. Like I said, it's your last line of defense. So if all else fails, you need to be able to roll back and get your emails or your files. So sort of dovetailing off that, it's probably worth considering cyber insurance as well. I've said here that the minimum requirements, that they're actually not that hard. Like you can get the coverage pretty easy, especially if you're aligning to that Essential 8. But I suppose you have to ask yourself these hard questions. You know, can your business continue operating tomorrow if everything got deleted? Or could you handle the potential financial impact? Like if you got that ransomware and you're up for several hundreds of thousands of dollars to get your files back, like most businesses aren't going to afford that. That's why you need cyber insurance. And I have seen this happen many times where the cyber insurance people will step in and they will negotiate with these hackers to get a better deal, and they fork out the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So some typical protections in place. This is just a little bit of an average topology. So you've got your user down the bottom here, and they're logged into their computer. And on their computer, they've got antivirus, they've got MFA, they've got patch management, they might have a password manager. Then before you get to the internet, you've got a firewall. So this is it's intrusion prevention. So basically it just looks for any suspicious traffic and blocks it. Then you've got web filtering. So that's stopping you from going to malicious websites. And then if you've got a server, it's also got those protections. And if you use Office 365, there's even more security add-ons here, like you need backups, you can do your phishing training. Conditional access is basically like geo-blocking. So if you're an Australian business and you don't have any remote workers, you can lock down your login so that only people from within Australia are allowed to log in. Of course, you can make exceptions if you're going on holidays or if you have a remote worker in the Philippines or whatever, that's fine. Anti-spam, which is going to stop some spam emails coming through. You can get alerts based on whether people are sharing external documents. So you might want to know, like if someone might accidentally publish a client's information and share it to someone outside of your business, you need to know that that's happening. All right, I've done a lot of talking, and I know it's a lot of technical mumbo jumbo, but I think if you're going to take anything away from this presentation, you should consider using MFA, update your applications and operating system. Sorry, I see a question there. I'll come to that in just a second. Making sure you use strong and unique passwords. Be vigilant when you're sharing information, opening links or making payments. Ensure that you've got your good cyber protections in place. So similar to this here, just make sure that you have as many of these things as you can, and make sure you've got everything backed up. It's the last line of defense there. So I'll turn to the questions here. Just let me have a look at that one in the chat. Yeah, okay. So storing your information in Google Drive. So very similar to OneDrive or SharePoint. So there are policies that you can look at in Google Drive. If you Google the keyword DLP, which is short for data loss prevention, they have policies that you can put in there where you can specify personal identifiable things like their name, their address, bank account details, Medicare, things like that. And it'll stop people from being able to share or email those files. We have restricted access to essential team members. Yeah. So it's probably also worth checking what the sharing permissions are like on Google Drive, because by default, you can share to anyone on the web. Like, doesn't matter if they're in your business, outside your business. That's something that you can change at the top level. So you can prohibit that. I'd definitely consider doing that. And I suppose the other thing is, if people are syncing Google Drive to their PC while they're working, consider having encryption turned on. So another thing that you can look up, it's called BitLocker. So BitLocker is a Microsoft setting. It's free, it doesn't cost anything, but it's effectively a thing that you turn on in Windows, and it will encrypt your hard drive with a key, and you've got to keep that key somewhere for safekeeping, because if you ever need to break into your computer or need to do a data restore or something, you might need that key. So there are a couple of things that you could do. I'm more familiar with the Microsoft suite than Google. It's been a little while, but I think you could also probably restrict logins to Australia only as well, which is just a good protection, right? Because if someone's sitting there trying to get into your account and they're trying to hack in, like, it's more likely that they're going to be coming from overseas. So really, it's not going to hurt you. You may as well put that in, and it just slows them down a little bit.
With that application, Isaac, for you mentioned BitLocker, is that something that's exclusively for Microsoft operating systems, or is it something that Mac users might be able to use as well?
I would have to expect that there is a version for the Mac, but I don't know what it's called off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just encryption software that they can download to their computer.
Yeah, I think even if you were to Google like how to encrypt a Mac hard drive, for example, that there would be, I reckon there'd be something built into the operating system that will do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Macs are probably a little bit better in that way anyway. Like the way that the local security is set up, it's better than Windows.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
Perfect.
Any other questions, or even if you can't think of anything right now, feel free to take a screenshot of the email or phone number. I don't mind. If you want to reach out and have any questions, I'm happy to help.
Wonderful. And if you're happy with this as well, Isaac, I can pop that on the upload to school as well for people who might watch the recording.
Yep.
If you're happy with that, to reach out to you if they have any questions.
Yeah, of course, that's fine, no problem. And I'll send through those other links as well that just highlight some of those, the NDIA sensitive information,
mm-hmm.
and also the cybersecurity requirements.
Perfect. That'd be great. Well, thank you, Isaac. Really appreciate your time today, and thank you for the insightful talk. It was really eye-opening, especially with the businesses who their business is to hack other businesses and perform that ransomware. It was really interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. I guess one of the things that I didn't mention was the laws haven't necessarily caught up to cybercrime. So I was listening to a presentation from this former FBI agent the other day, and he basically said, why wouldn't you? Like, if you're a criminal and you had no ethics and no morals, a lot of these people don't end up getting caught. They don't get prosecuted. So there's businesses in other countries that have leveraged this, and they've got buildings full of staff and HR departments, and it's a legitimate business, if you want to call it that, and that's what they do day in, day out. And I think that the other scary thing is that I think scammers have always sounded pretty obvious on the phone. Like someone's calling you from Microsoft, and you can tell they're in a call center somewhere.
Yeah.
But now, with how good AI is and how you can impersonate voices and even videos and stuff, it's going to be really hard to decipher and determine if it's the real or fake. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's where the spot the difference comes into play, and so those 8 strategies to make sure that your security is up to scratch. Yeah, for sure. Great.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it, and thank you everyone for joining. And hopefully, everyone who's watching this after the fact gets some valuable information from this.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.
See ya.